Rain had been falling since morning, the kind that made the town feel smaller and quieter. Ethan Walker liked days like this. Fewer people came into the library, fewer conversations he had to manage, fewer chances to disappoint anyone. He sat behind the desk, sorting returned books, moving with calm precision. On the outside, he looked like a man who had everything under control. On the inside, he carried a weight he never spoke about. People often said Ethan was intense, though. No one explained what they meant. Thought he felt too deeply. Others thought he expected too much from life, from love, from people. Past relationships had started with excitement and ended with distance. The same pattern always appeared. At first, people admired his honesty, his emotional depth. Then, slowly, they became tired of it. They wanted something easier, lighter. They left saying kind words that still hurt. Ethan learned to stop explaining himself. He learned to smile, listen, and keep the important parts locked away. The library was his safe place. Books did not fear emotions. Stories did not leave halfway through. He could recommend love stories, heartbreak stories, hopeful endings, without risking his own heart. That was enough. Or so he told himself. Around. Mid-afternoon, the bell above the door rang softly. Ethan looked up. A woman stood just inside, rain dripping from the edge of her coat. She hesitated, as if unsure whether to come fully in. Her brown hair was pulled back loosely, strands falling around her face. She looked tired but not weak, more like someone who had traveled far with heavy thoughts. "Sorry," she said, brushing water from her sleeve. "I didn't realize it was raining this hard." "It's fine," Ethan replied. "Happens a lot here." She smiled politely and stepped farther inside. Her eyes moved across the shelves, curious but cautious. After a moment, she approached the desk. "I'm new in town," she said. "Was hoping you could suggest a book, something meaningful, but not depressing." Ethan considered this for a moment. Most people asked for bestsellers or quick reads. Her request felt different. "Are you looking for fiction or nonfiction?" he asked. "Fiction," she said. "Something that feels real." He stood and walked toward the shelves. As he moved, he felt her watching him, not in an uncomfortable way, but with quiet attention. He picked 3 books, each different but connected by emotional honesty. "These might work," he said, handing them to her. "You don't have to choose now. Take your time." She looked at the covers, then at him. "Thank you. I'm Claire, by the way, Ethan." She checked out one book but lingered, as if she wanted to say more. Finally, she did. "I moved here from Vancouver," Claire said. "I needed a fresh start." Ethan nodded. He didn't ask why. He understood the need without details. "Hope you find what you're looking for," he said. "I think I might," she replied, smiling again before leaving. When the door closed, the library felt different. Not louder, not brighter. Just changed. Ethan shook the feeling off and returned to work, but his focus slipped. He found himself replaying the conversation, her voice, the calm way she spoke. Over the next week, Claire returned. Sometimes she borrowed books. Sometimes she returned them quickly, saying she hadn't been able to focus yet. Once she admitted she had just wanted a quiet place to think. Ethan never questioned it. He simply made space. Their conversations grew easier. They talked about favorite authors, childhood memories, small disappointments that felt safe to share. Claire had a thoughtful way of speaking, choosing her words carefully, as if she knew their weight. Ethan noticed how she never rushed him. When he paused mid-sentence, she waited. When he changed topics, she followed without pushing him back, which was unfamiliar and strangely comforting. One afternoon, she asked, "Do you ever feel like some people are built to feel more than others?" The question caught him off guard. "Yes," he said after a moment. "And it's not always a gift." She nodded slowly. "I thought so." There was no pity in her voice, no fear, just understanding. Still, Ethan kept his guard up. He had felt connection before, but he knew how quickly it could turn into disappointment. What he carried inside him was not light. It demanded patience. presence, and emotional strength. Most people thought they wanted that until they felt its weight. As days passed, the rain stopped coming so often. The town grew brighter. Claire suggested coffee once, casually, as if it meant nothing more than a warm drink. Ethan agreed, telling himself it was harmless. They sat by the window of a small cafe, watching people pass by. Conversation flowed easily, but beneath it, something deeper moved, unspoken and growing. Ethan felt it clearly. It scared him. That night alone in his apartment, Ethan stared at the ceiling. His chest felt tight with thoughts he refused to name. He remembered all the times people had said, "You're too much," without saying it directly. He remembered learning to make himself smaller. Claire didn't know any of that, not yet. And as he drifted toward sleep, one thought repeated in his mind, heavy and familiar. What I carry is too big. And sooner or later, she will see it too. Claire became part of Ethan's routine faster than he expected. She showed up on bright mornings and quiet afternoons, always with a book in her hand or a thoughtful look on her face. Their meetings no longer felt planned. They happened naturally, like two paths slowly moving closer. Ethan noticed how easily he began to wait for her, how the sound of the library door made him look up without thinking. They started talking beyond safe topics. Claire spoke about leaving Vancouver, about a relationship that had drained her over time without any clear ending. She did not blame anyone. She only said she had forgotten who she was while trying to be enough for someone else. Ethan listened, closely, feeling a quiet respect grow inside him. She spoke with honesty, but not bitterness. Ethan shared small pieces of himself in return. He talked about growing up with responsibility too early, about learning to be the strong one in every room. He never named his deeper fears, but they hovered near the surface. Claire seemed to sense them. She never asked directly, but her eyes stayed gentle, open. Their coffee meetings turned into long walks along the shore. The ocean wind carried their words away, making space for silence when it came. Ethan found he did not need to fill every pause with explanations. Claire was comfortable with quiet moments. That alone felt rare. One evening, as they watched the sun drop into the water, Claire laughed softly and said, "It feels strange how easy this is." Ethan smiled, but inside, tension tightened. Easy never lasted. As their bond grew, Ethan felt his emotions stretching beyond his control. He began thinking about Claire when he woke up and before he slept. Her presence made him feel seen in a way he had avoided for years. With that warmth came fear. He had promised himself he would never place his full weight on another person. Again, Claire noticed the change in him. She saw how his words became careful, how he sometimes pulled back after moments of closeness. One afternoon in the library, she closed her book and looked at him directly. "You disappear sometimes," she said. "Not physically." Emotionally, Ethan exhaled slowly. "I'm not very good at staying." She studied him, not with concern, but with understanding. "Neither am I, but I'm trying." Her words stayed with him long after she left. That night, Ethan walked alone along the shoreline. He thought about the pattern he always followed: connect, retreat, protect himself before someone else could step away. He knew this path well. It had kept him safe, but it had also kept him alone. Days later, Claire invited him to a small gathering at her apartment. "It's just a few people," she said. "Nothing serious." Ethan almost refused. Crowds made him feel exposed. But he went, watching Claire move among others. He saw how naturally she connected, how she listened, how she laughed without effort. She carried her own quiet strength. It made him admire her more and fear more deeply later that night. Standing by the window, Claire said softly, "I'm glad you came." "So am I," Ethan replied, and he meant it. Their hands brushed, neither pulled away. The closeness felt fragile, like glass. Ethan knew that if he let himself lean in fully, there would be no turning back. What he felt for Claire was not casual. It was deep, steady, demanding honesty. Over the following weeks, their connection became impossible to ignore. They were not official, not defined, but something real was forming. Friends noticed. Ethan noticed most of all, and with that realization came pressure. One evening, as they sat together on a bench overlooking the water, Claire spoke again about emotional weight. Do you ever feel like love asks more than we know how to give? Ethan stared at the dark waves. Yes, that's why it scares people away. Claire turned to him. Maybe it only scares the ones who aren't ready. Her words stayed calm, but they struck deep. Ethan felt the urge to tell her everything, to explain the depth of his feelings, the expectations he carried, the intensity that had pushed others away. He wanted to warn her. He wanted to protect her from himself. Instead, he said nothing. That silence became its own truth. That night, Ethan knew he was standing at the edge of something important. He could step forward and risk everything, or step back and keep control. For the first time, neither choice felt safe. And somewhere between fear and hope, Ethan realized his feelings. For Claire were growing faster than he could manage, dot to big dot, and soon they would have to be faced.